all right, everyone. What a treat. What a treat we're all in this evening. And I just want to welcome you all to this incredible session on hip hop and its 49 years of cultural resistance. Now, before we get started, as we usually do here at Glide, we'd love to be able to share with you a little bit educational video on the history of hip hop. So if you just bear with me, we have a really, really good video to share with you. It's only a few minutes long, but will provide us the context to what we're going to be talking about today. So hold on tight. All right.
In August 1973, a young Jamaican-born New Yorker known as DJ Coolherd threw a party in the South Bronx. With a pair of turntables, he improvised a technique that isolated and repeated musical breaks That technique would lay the foundation for a genre known as hip-hop. Hip-hop music emerged from house parties in the Bronx and spread like wildfire between friends and neighbors at block parties. The new sound was electrifying.
In the schoolyard during recess, someone would have a boombox, and then someone would start rhyming. You didn't have recorded versions of hip-hop at that time.
Within a few years, it had become an underground cultural movement, and its distribution was homemade.
You couldn't purchase albums or records, and you couldn't hear hip-hop on the radio. The only way that you could participate in the culture musically was through these cassette tapes, which would circulate all throughout the city.
As its influence deepened and broadened, the music spread from the underground onto the radio. In 1979, a group from suburban New Jersey released Rapper's Delight, one of the first hip-hop records.
Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet.
And the Sugar Hill Gang's hit was just the beginning. As hip-hop evolved, it became a passion shared by millions of young Americans who used it to articulate their identity and their politics, creating a vibrant, multicultural community across the country.
Our generation of young people, we had to find new ways to communicate, just getting on the records and speaking about the truth.
Its lyrics reflected the social and economic conditions of the inner cities as seen through the eyes of the people who lived there.
Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Say what? It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
I think it was Chuck D who said, it's the CNN of the black community. It's actually reporting on all of these things that we've experienced in poetry form and musical form.
In 2017, hip-hop surpassed rock as America's #1 stream genre for the first time ever. Decades after its birth, hip-hop has grown from its underground origins in the Bronx to become one of the most popular genres of music throughout the world.
Before we begin, we do what we always do, and we need to acknowledge the land that we're on. And so I'd like to invite Hannah, who's on our team at Glide at the Center for Social Justice. Hannah.
Thanks, Miguel. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homelands. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples.
Thank you, Hannah. Wow. Okay. So check this out. As I was preparing for this, and I went back in time to listened to some of the hip hop music, I felt like I realized that I grew up listening because I'm 52. Just don't tell no one. But we're celebrating 49 years of hip hop. And I could not think of a better panelist that we have today to help us talk about hip hop, what it means, what it was, what it means today, and how it's become the movement that we all have enjoyed, and excited about what are some thoughts about the future. So we're going to start with my brother Guled Muse, originally from Somalia. Guled moved to the United States at the age of 10 and has lived in the Bay Area for almost 20 years. Guled is a music producer and community organizer. His work has been shown and has been felt in the Mission District as well as in Oakland. It includes movements around issues of gentrification, promotion of the arts, and increasing diversity. He has founded and coordinated events including Skates with Beats and Not for Sale, which highlight the essence of Bay Area energy by promoting female, Black, and Latina DJs. And we also have to wish him a happy birthday because he took the time today of the anniversary of his birth to be here with us. Brother Guled, thank you so much for joining us. And then we have our sister, Jada Amani, who's a hip hop and R&B artist. Jada is originally from East St. Louis, but she's born and raised here in the Bay Area. She is known for her dynamic MC presence, as well as a performer and event host, as well as a facilitator of many workshops, including one she's doing at Glide on spoken word. At the age of 15, Jada was curating live performances at Oakland's First Fridays festivals, where she's helped build community, and she's hosted over 100 artists over the course of 3.5 years there. Mani, Jada, she has collaborated on projects with Adidas, Oakland Museum, California, and the Grammy Recording Arts Academy as a voting member, and finds her ultimate passion is in grassroots projects. Jada is newly launched merchandise line, which we're going to tell you later, so you can go onto her line. But it really includes her latest singles and music videos. But in partnership, she does this with local women-owned businesses, including The Well, and then most recently, Oaklandish. Thank you both for joining us today. Guled, again, happy birthday. It is such a pleasure to see you. And Jada, you have been so phenomenal facilitating our workshops with inspiring spoken word artists. So thank you both for being here. So we're going to get right into it. Now, like I said, for me, listening to hip hop is going down memory lane because I lived it live as it was happening. I still have cassettes. And for those of you who don't know, cassettes were little things way before CDs and flash drives and other things that people use now. Spotify, we didn't even have none of that, or Pandora. But I still have my cassettes of some of this hip hop stuff, and I was listening to it, and it just took me back. But that's hip hop for me. I asked you, what is hip hop for you? And Guled, I'd like to start with you.
Miguel, first and foremost, it's so great to see you again. It's good to be back with the Glide family as a guest. It's always, part of my history, part of my heart. Well, to answer your question, as far as with hip hop, how I was taught is it's one of two. It's actually two things really. It's hip, to know, being hip, right? Being 10 steps ahead of the game, but then also hop is to take action. And reason being is because you think about just the history of it, how they defunded the arts programs, where they have completely decimated these impoverished neighborhoods, these Black, brown neighborhoods. That's what they had to do in order to innovate, in order to create lemons out of lemonade, in order to be the phoenix that rose from the ashes to now being a global phenomenon, a cultural phenomenon to be exact. So that's how I've integrated that philosophy of hip hop to my own path of trying to find authenticity, my freedom, my ways of teaching my my colleagues, my loved ones, my son, everyone. That's what hip hop means to me. So
Well, thank you. Jada.
Yeah. Yeah, hip hop is the soundtrack of a lot of my childhood and my current day life. The soundtrack to my whole life. Hip hop is a culture. It's a way of dressing, speaking, living. Hip hop is peace, love, unity, and having fun. And it's the transformation of black pain into beauty. It's like it's it's everything. Hip hop is life.
Mm,
And it's also to be distinguished from like the rap industry. Hip hop is from the streets, it's from the community. The rap industry is a multi-million, possibly billion-dollar industry that siphoned the talent from hip hop and created a market out of it, which is a slightly different thing. But yeah, hip hop is beauty.
mhm. So when you both were growing up and you turned on the radio and you heard hip hop, who were the artists that you heard that really touched you, and what was their message that made you then politically aware of what was going on? And it could be two different things. It could be two different artists, that one sort of captured your imagination about, the sound and the lyrics, right? And it could be another one that just woke up your consciousness and said, "Oh my God, this is something." Who were those artists that you first heard and moved you? Guled
and
or
uh,
Jada?
for sure, I think like hip hop to me is just it's generational, right? Because like I listened to, I mean, when I was growing up, like at least like when I first remembered hip hop, it was like maybe like 91, and just like seeing MC Hammer, on MTV when MTV was just only showing music videos at that time. And then the flashy era of Puff Daddy and Notorious B.I.G., Will Smith. Just growing up watching mainstream television was how I've gotten indoctrinated into it. And I've always enjoyed it because it was fun music. But to to answer your question in regards to like which group has sparked me politically, to become politically conscious has to be Dead Prez. Dead Prez is a group, it's a duo from Tallahassee, but then they moved to New York City, and they were extremely militant in what they rapped about. The album "Let's Get Free" to me is like it's like the soundtrack to my life. Like what they've said in some of their songs were so prophetic to like what is actually happening now. And not only were they talking about revolution in the aspect of fighting for freedom out on these streets, but then also liberation of the mind, and also speaking about health because of how they were poisoning black and brown communities in in our neighborhoods with 50-cent sodas, with pork rinds, with whatever. They were talking about veganism.
Mm,
I mean, I tried, but I'm still trying. But I must say, like that album to RBG, like that whole movement was just mind blowing to me. So that group, especially like that group holds really dear to my heart. And just listening to certain songs like hip hop, actually, that song was the song that is always played whenever during the Chappelle show before like he enters the stage and he starts going on to his skits. Like you'll hear a little snippet of that instrumental, but that song in particular is not funny at all. It is it speaks on some really heavy subjects, and it's letting us know that it's bigger than hip hop,
mm,
like the type of agendas that they try to put inside the music, and also what's going on politically. So if y'all haven't checked it out, check out Let's Get Free. It's an amazing
Yeah.
album.
And I want to go deep in a little bit about that. Jada,
Yeah.
who are the folks, the artists that sort of got you, that captured your imagination, and then that sort of uplifted your consciousness?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked this question because with the first question of what is hip hop to me, I forgot to mention like possibly the most important part, which is like it's a vehicle for telling the truth and spreading the news and awakening people's minds to the realities of what's going on, but also what we're capable of. So, as far as the artists who have done that for me, Dead Prez is number one for me as well. Next to them would be other artist. He has a song, for instance, called New World Water that's talking about water crisis and it's talking about environmental issues, capitalism, but through beats and rhymes. And also Lauryn Hill, the Fugees. The
Yeah.
Fugees were on the radio. I will mention, like I said, the rap industry and hip hop are slightly different. A lot of the Dead Prez wasn't really on the radio. The Fugees was, however, but only the top hits. But the Fugees and Lauryn Hill definitely talked about the realities of being Black in America, womanhood, personal power. And, Common, Talib Kweli, Black Star is a big one. Yeah, there are a lot, although it's like special, because it can also be hard to find. But those are several artists that I came up listening to that really opened my mind. It taught me a lot. And then I will like, this is a little bit of a stretch, in that it's the forefathers of hip hop, kind of before the genre fully developed. But the Last Poets would also be right up there as well.
So, Guled, you talked about the music and Jada, you also talked about the messaging and the truth. Did hearing the truth, because as we know in this, especially in this country, the truth has not been good, right? And Glide, we do the Alabama trip and we go through the civil rights journey, and that's painful. How did you find hope when you heard the music? Because you said it was militant and it was truth, and we know that hurts. Where in the music did you find the hope?
Jada, you want to answer that? Or I see you munching, so I got you. Anyway, the reason why like hip hop to me was so educational was because they were teaching us stuff that was not taught in schools. As a matter of fact, going back to Dead Prez, they had a song talking about the educational school system, how they weren't teaching them nothing, how they were teaching Black kids that, about the history of that only Black folks were like only 3/5 of human beings and nothing more, nothing less. And just talking about also what happened if martial law happened. It just opened up my mind to things that were a possibility that could evidently like occur. Like, I mean, you're seeing what's happening right now. And the thing about hip hop too is that back in the day, it was always called like, it was reporting live from the streets. It was like the news of the ghetto. So the stuff that Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, that song, The Message, like just even listening to that, you can tell that they were living that life, and it wasn't rosy. What gives me hope about it too is that like it bridges many cultures, and making sure that people understand that we are, we're fighting something that's bigger than us. And just through the music itself and the truth telling and that's authenticity, it makes people understand a community far better than what the media is always often trying to portray people. Like when Ronald Reagan was saying that Black women were welfare queens or whatnot. You will also hear songs about like how, fathers had to like leave their houses in order for them to get the Social Security and the welfare to keep their family afloat. and giving a side to the story that racist or mainstream media was often trying to portray Black folks, and it was showing us a really deeper context, and also last but not least, just the way amidst of it all, like the way that you hear these jams, like what you were listening to, Hip Hop Array, like amidst of all the adversity, you can still listen to the celebration. You can still listen to people rising above adversity to come up, and it inspires you that if they were able to come out of those situations to be able to provide for their families, to still stay true to what they're talking about, it gives hope to a lot of people, including myself.
Right on. Thank you. Jada.
Yeah. Yeah, about taking the really painful truth and like gleaning the hope from them. Well, I have a few thoughts about it. One is it being in the form of rhythm and rhyme does something more than just reading it or more than just hearing it spoken aloud. So, like, my medical professional, I think it was my chiropractor, she told me that if ever I experience anxiety or anger or fear or something that gives my fight or flight going, I need to immediately take a walk, immediately activate that energy and direct it somewhere. I think that's what music does. So although the content is talking about really harsh realities, we're channeling it through music. And you can say some of the worst things, but the way that it, depending on the song, the way that it is delivered can, one, make you feel ready to go, ready to fight, ready to jump, ready to activate, feel fueled up to do something about it. Like hip hop, the way the beat is, the way the chant, it's like this chanting type of rap. Hip hop, hip hop. It gets you ready, gets you fired up. It gives you energy. It doesn't take it away. Or depending on another song, like another example who is neo soul, but she's also hip hop, would be Erykah Badu. She has one song called "The Healer," or another song called, I know I can hear the beat, but so let's take the example of "The Healer." That song can soothe you, although she's talking about harsh realities, because the way she decided to put it in this, like the sonic form, it does something to us. So it being in that form helps a lot. And yeah, it can allow it to move us, or it can allow me to move, or it can allow me to integrate it in a way that is productive instead of destructive.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting because it has been said many times in many sources that hip hop is the biggest genre in the world in terms of music. Would you all agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about, even you can even listen to K-pop, right? This new global phenomenon. They will literally bite music from earlier hip hop records and not cite them, you know. But and what's really funny too is just that, like, it's a it's a type of music genre that even if there is certain animosity that they have towards, you know, Black people, they still can't live without they still can't live without the culture. They still can't live without that music. They can be racist or whatnot, but then it's like they'll still drive listening to hip hop. It's just like it's such a powerful music that just transcends people in many ways, because of the way that it's, you know, once again, like hip and hop. It's just like it's always continuously evolving. It can never be outdated. It can never slow down. It's something that just broke out of the Pandora's box, and now the whole world, like everybody, has a story to tell through rhythm and rhyme. You know, whether you're a participant or whether you're just a listener, like it's infectious. It's not going away anytime soon, and it's global.
Right on. Jada, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't feel entirely qualified to say, yeah, it's the biggest genre because, I'm like, I've done some studying about how recently, like within this past 6 weeks, 7 weeks, about how genres have evolved. And we know that when it comes to the US, all music is black music, and hip hop is the newest baby of all these different lineages that come music genres that came before it from black folks, from like folk and blues to funk and soul and gospel and jazz. So at the current moment, it'd probably be safe to say yeah.
No, that's I mean, I think it is, but that's just me. I'm not a hip hop artist, but I am a fan. There was a question about just sort of clarifying the difference between hip hop and rap. If you could clarify this for the group, and just to let people know, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will do our best to try to get those answered. But yeah, what is the difference between hip hop and rap?
I can touch on that because I brought it up. So this could be a very long conversation, but in a very simple, like to start, hip hop is comprised of four different genres, the four different elements, right? There's graffiti, there's breaking, which is like b-boy, b-girl. There's DJing, which was the first element, and then there's rap, right? And then there's rap. So let's just talk about rap. Let's isolate that element. There's being a rapper and there's being an MC. Rapping is something that you can do. You can freestyle, you can rap. An MC is the ultimate prototype and quintessential kind of version of a rapper. It's a more evolved version of rapping because that's in the beginning of hip hop, DJ Kool Herc, the house parties. It was the person with the microphone who was getting the party started. My DJ is the best DJ. We're gonna party and we're gonna party all day, So that was an MC because they weren't just rapping. They were rapping, but they're also, it's called master of ceremonies. They were getting the party cracking. They were bringing people together over the joy of music. They were activating people's energy that would go towards fighting each other in the hood to partying with each other and breaking with each other in the hood. So that's the difference. And rap is one thing, but being able to build community through rap is MCing. And rap is also more of what you hear on the radio. It's not hip hop because the radio and the industry that makes profit off of rap music doesn't bring all of hip hop culture with it. It doesn't bring the peace, love, unity, and having fun. It brings a lot of other stuff, oftentimes misogyny, drug culture, violence. So that's why it's a bit of a difference. MC is the root. Rapping is an activity that can be used for good or bad,
Wow.
I hope that makes sense.
No, it did. Thank you, Jada. Guled, you want to add?
I mean, yeah, based off of the four elements as Jada mentioned, that's hip hop it's just the overall culture of it, things that cannot be commodified, but rather it's just like it's highly spiritual and communal. But I think Jada hit everything in the nail. I must say, like the way that the industry has to Jada's point, isolated just like one element, but then just is controlling, what comes out through the budget of these record labels and what is being promoted is not hip hop. I mean, it's really based on what they can do to sell records, what they can do to make things, what is very controversial, what is things that people, I mean, the thing is that you can escape, but then like hip hop taught me to also confront and to face the realism and to take action. But now it's just most of the time it's, and I can't overgeneralize anything because just now in this digital age, there's so many phenomenal artists. I mean, just in the Bay Area alone, just there's phenomenal people that stay true to the hip hop element. And like Jada right here, I'm a fan of of this sister's music. Like she's great and she's tapping in and continuing on that legacy. But but they're not showing the full picture. The hip hop is panoramic, and that isolated rap that you see that's top 40 and the buffoonery, that's just only tunnel vision
Mhm. You know, we titled this Hip Hop 49 Years of Cultural Resistance. What does that mean to you? Because we do have a question about cultural resistance and its relation or its difference to other political resistance. But let's answer, what is cultural resistance to you, and why is hip hop such an important element of that? Jada?
Cultural resistance to me is the rebellion and rejection of all pressures of colonial assimilation, um, oppression or denial of folks' history and roots and what's sacred and native to people's souls and people's family line. Cultural resistance is saying, I am who I am, and you cannot bully me or steal from me or oppress me enough to change me to be you instead. I am allowed to be who I am, and who I am is beautiful, and it's ancient and it's sacred, and I will protect it and I will express it because it naturally flows from me. And no matter how much you want me to hate myself, hate my brother, sister, siblings, change my hair, change the way I speak, assimilate, or kill me altogether, I will rebel, and I will rebel through being myself. I will rebel through music, through talent, through joy, through community. And that's where hip hop comes in. It is music, it's talent, it's joy, it's community, it's all those things, and that's cultural resistance. And that's why so often it rubs people the wrong way, because it rebels. It rebels against the norms just by being real. This is who we are. This is it.
Yes. Guled.
I mean, it's how Jada put it eloquently. It is about authenticity, it's about originality, it's about being yourself, defying societal norms, and being the antithesis to the status quo. Because when you think about cultural resistance and political resistance, politics, it doesn't matter, what type of party you're affiliated with. There's still always going to be root causes that are still affecting the community, and hollow promises that are being made and only to be voted and to be elected. But through cultural resilience, we're tackling the root of the problem. We're going to continue making the music, until this is being addressed and everybody's going to be hearing about it, until people are free, until these society ills are being addressed and equity is being brought to our people. We're going to continue on being ourselves and to rebel with whatever means. And the music really brings people together and to inform folks. And that's why it's as much as it's powerful, it's also dangerous. And that element has been stripped away. So I've still learned a lot from just cultural resiliency through hip hop, and that's why I was passionate in becoming an organizer and an activist. It's because of the music and what they were saying, that even goes beyond the history of this country, like just the pain, just this the mental suffrage that people went through. It makes me want to fight. It makes me want to do right by people.
It's interesting because Guled, Isoke Fime, who's on our team at Glide, and Isoke, who works in our truth, justice, and transformational work here. She often talks about how music played a really important role in the lives of slaves, because it told them a lot. Like wade in the water, she's in the sessions that she does, she'll sing it, and she says it's about getting in the water because the dogs are coming, right? And and what I really appreciate is the fact that hip hop has done the same thing in many ways to give the message that, you know what, life is not good because of the way the structure is set. But despite that, we're going to continue. We're going to stand up and we're going to resist, right? And we're going to search for a better world. And I really appreciate that, because if you look at, the question earlier about it being the biggest genre in the world, you find people of all colors listening to hip hop. Now I'm Mexican, so I don't know how many people listen to mariachi music, but with hip hop, there's something about it that, is attributed to the African American community, but the message also helps create allies, right? Especially with BIPOC communities, that things are bad, but you know what? One, we're going to speak the truth in it, but two, we want to get you involved in it. And I think that's why hip hop has been so important, especially in our current day. And like I said, being 52, it's for my whole life almost, it has been a rallying cry to seek justice, but in a form that engages me, right? And gets me to move, like you said, hip and then hop, right?
Can I speak real
Yeah,
quick to that?
absolutely.
Thank you. I mean, one thing, actually, I want to double back to Kieran's question, because I didn't realize, I thought the question was what is cultural resistance, but I missed the part about how does that differ from political. So real quick, I learned that there's 3 different kinds of power, and I'm sure that it can be expressed differently, but there's economic power, the power of money, political power, the power to make decisions, and then cultural/spiritual power. And that's what we have the most of. We have had a lot of barriers to accumulating generational wealth and access to money for various reasons. And we've had a lot of barriers to keep us out of politics, because it's a game that was not designed for us. But cultural and spiritual power is something we're born with, raised with, and can't be taken away from us. Therefore, that's what we have the most of. So that's how I see the difference. And then as far as it's just so funny to hear you speak about mariachi music and hip hop. Like, oh, I never, like maybe everybody doesn't listen to, like maybe everybody does listen to hip hop in a very unique way that couldn't be said about a lot of other genres. And it can form allyship. And I think also there's some irresponsibility that happens when people take on hip hop, that I feel like maybe us as hip hop creators could be more explicit about what allyship means to us, so we can create new norms about how people interact with it as well. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, thank you for the question too, Kieran.
Yeah, thank you. You want to add to that, Guled?
I just think, like, as long as you feel the music, as long as it's affecting you in some type of way, like, if you don't want to take action, that's fine. But like, if it's affecting you, if you listen to a song like "Dear Mama" by Tupac, and it like hits you in the heart, like that's the power of the music. That's the power of like why this transcends, race, creeds, and faiths. Just how it even correlates to even like my Somali upbringing, like far away from just the origins of like hip hop, and like how like even traces back to like West Africa, like me being in East Africa, you know, the poetry that came from what people were dealing with at that time. Like my great grandfather, Ayun, God bless him, he was an MC, in his own way. When people would ask him how he was doing, he would say a very long poem. Instead of saying I'm doing fine. Like he will always rhyme, and that's just the power of poetry. That's the power of of a culture that is highly spiritual. It brings people together. It's made out of love. It's made out of divine inspiration. Because to like the acronym, like I mean, just an MC, they're known to move the crowd. You know, just the power of their voice. It doesn't matter who you are. You know, you could be so. I can just envision just being in a house party in the Bronx. You know, it's like you got you got the b-boys on the one side, you got people who are out there on the streets doing what's needed to be done. Like everybody just stopping what they're doing and just all coming together. That's the power of the music.
Hmm. There's a lot of, we'll just say, a lot of young folks, people a lot younger than me, that are up and coming artists and are looking to hip hop as a way to express themselves. What would you? I mean, I consider you all youngins too, because um, I'm an OG, oldie but goodie. Some people call me antique or heirloom, but I like to say oldie but goodie. But what would you tell young people about the importance of knowing the history of hip hop going back 49 years? Why is that important for them in either the shaping of their music, the informing of their rhymes? I mean, why is that important?
Wow. You go.
And I insist. I insist.
Okay. Well, it's important because you carry the torch. It's our turn, and um, I'm still early 20s, but there are people still very much younger than me who are doing it. So, it's their turn to um, to carry on something that is a part of a lineage and a tradition. So it's our responsibility to know where it comes from, because that's the only way that we can honor what we do. You know, like um, I would say you soak up so much game from folks who came before you and studying their music. You can take what you like, leave what you don't, learn from it all, grow it, and be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. By you learning the history of it, it provides so much more meaning and purpose to the music that you're making and the culture you're part of and how you
Hmm.
navigate it.
And I mean, to be honest, like the reason why people should learn the history of hip hop, especially if you're an artist, is also learning about exploitation. If you think about it, so many of the artists before them, they were exploited. They had the power. They were, they were cultural merchants, and didn't receive a dime for what they have influenced, and created the impact to the whole globe. So to learn from the mistakes and to recognize independence, recognize ownership is one part. Learning the business aspect of being an artist. Otherwise, you can still see it happen to this day with these 360 deals where they're just taking. It's like compound interest. It's like
Mm.
they take money off of your tours, money off of your merchandise, they take money off of your music. It's it's a it's a shady game. But then that's the but to go back to like learn the history of hip hop and the history of the culture, I, it's to me, it's kind of a tragedy of sorts, right? Because hip hop is always moving forward. That's why it's not institutionalized the way that other other genres are. Like U2, Sting, the Rolling Stones could sell out a worldwide tour, but none of the youngins are aware of Cool Herc, or none of the youngins are aware of Grandmaster. These people who paved the way, who've sacrificed everything for the culture, um, they're not even spoken about. We're not even taking care of them. Uh, so it's a tough one for me to answer, but I think for them to recognize the music will hopefully in turn make them want to put another brick, towards the path of the culture, and to still carry on to tradition, because it's letting you know that you have this voice, you have this power that is that comes with great responsibility. And if not, you're going to just end up being forget about.
Mm,
And so you have to make sure that you learn about the culture, and recognize, like, what is a classic album? Like, what constitutes as a classic album? What constitute as being an impactful artist? Because nobody remembers any of the rappers from the ringtone era. It's like you can hear these songs, but they're just very forgetful unless somebody shows it to you. But then play something like "Ready to Die" by Notorious B.I.G., where he made an album like he had nothing to lose, where his the whole premise of it was revolutionary suicide, right? Where it's like, I'm already dead already, so I have nothing to lose with what I have to say.
mm,
Be Against the World by Tupac, Illmatic by Nas, where you can just close your eyes and you can be simulated to where you feel like you're inside their apartment when
mm.
they're witnessing all of these occurrences that they're rapping about. Like, to me, it's just like, when you're able to, like, learn that, you could bring people into your world for people to understand who you are. There's and and what's funny about that is that even if you live in a different area, just that raw emotion will have people connected with you wherever you are. So there's a benefit to it.
Mm. You talked, both of you talked about legacy, right? That the older hip hop artists, um, how are they going to be remembered, right? And how do we invoke their names? Now let's fast forward 49 years from now. How do you want to be remembered in this space of hip hop artistry? Uh, how do you want people to remember your work?
Okay, I can go. Well, I would like to be remembered as someone what who made it clear that music is a vehicle, but it's so much more than just about music. I want to be remembered as someone who saw liberation, saw community-based living, who saw all of that as a lifestyle, and who tried, who did all that she could to honor that in her everyday life. And yeah, man, it's about growing, it's about evolving, it's about healing the traumas that we inherited through our, through hip hop, through all the things, everything that comes with being Black American, everything that comes with being poor, everything, you know. I want to be remembered as someone who did what she could to heal, with music and beyond music. And as far as like people listening back to the music as well, I want to be remembered as someone who gives themselves and gives others permission to weave hip hop with other genres of music, and um, honor all Black music, and like use music making as a center point for so many different influences, and celebrating those influences and honoring them to the best of my ability. I want to let people know that they can experiment with hip hop, they can have fun with it, and they can, you know, continue to evolve their personal style and relationship to hip hop. Aside from, like, regardless of if trap is the most popping thing, and regardless of if boom bap was the golden era, you could do neither or both or all at the same time. So yeah, that's how I'd like to be
Mm.
remembered.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Guled?
Uh, I want to be I want to be remembered as someone who has helped empower others. Like, I'm far from being a performance artist. I feel like I've evolved towards working behind the scenes, but there's just so many people just that I know in around my way that if they've had the platform, if they had the resources, that they will just be as impactful as these artists that I've mentioned earlier that created such impactful music. So I just want to use myself. I just want to use myself as a vessel, use myself as a resource to help artists ensure that it's okay for them to be authentic and not to compromise
Mhm.
their artistry for no one. To know that I am an ally to their music.
Wow. You know, Goulet, I would see you as an MC. If you say you're not an artist in that way, you're definitely an MC because you get the crowd going. And when you were with us at Glide, you definitely did that, and you continue to do that. And so I know people, generations to come, will be talking about both of you and the work that you've done to make sure that people see that liberation that you talked about, Jada. I love that point of that it's more than just music. It is community building. And and just want to remind the audience, if there's any questions you have, please put them in the chat. Because we're getting towards the end and I want to make sure we are able to provide you with the answers you're looking for. You know, when we talk about hip hop and we talk about its life, you know, because it almost has a life of its own. And Jada, you alluded to that sometimes it's just bringing different things together. What recommendation would you give those that are listening, not only tonight, but in the future, who are going to look at this video? How can people participate, contribute, and protect the art form of hip hop? So how can people who would say they hear it and they're like, "Ooh, what's that?" Right? How can they participate? Because at Glide, and as most of you know, when you come to these virtual monthly virtual things, we want you to fall in love with the topic that we're talking about, right? Because at Glide, you know, we talk about love, and we talk about radically inclusive and be unconditionally loving. And so, how would you get people to want to fall in love with hip hop so that they can participate, contribute, as well as protect its art form, because it is an art form? And so, what would you suggest?
I would suggest you can participate by um, listening to the music, pulling up to the shows, buying the merch if you want. Just don't say the N word if you're not black. When you're singing along, you know, if it happens to be in the song, and maybe like, you know, you can participate by making hip hop music. But if you're not a black person making hip hop music, just be aware that you're a guest. You're a guest in that genre. You're a guest in that culture, and make more room for others than you take up. You know, like, you know, that could be curating shows and putting other black artists on the lineup, especially black women, especially trans folks, queer folks, um, and well, that's my own little thing, because you know we know that hip hop is male dominated, so I got my own little agenda to, you know, but whatever, just put black folks on the lineup, you know, and then yeah, just be aware of the space you're taking up when participating, and contribute. You can contribute by sharing music with your friends and family. I can't tell you how special it is when I hear that someone sent my song to their mama, or played the song with their auntie and kids, or put it on a playlist. You know, that is an amazing way to contribute. And also spreading the word with like venues and journalists that you might know, spreading the word, sharing artists, uplifting artists that represent, you know, the true values of hip hop culture. So that was participate, contribute, and protect. yeah, another way of protecting is, yeah, like as much as possible, recentering the conversation around artists who really represent all that is good about hip hop, and put like, yeah, spreading the word. I think that'll I think that'll do plenty good. Yeah.
Thank you, Jada. Guled.
Uh, if you're here locally, I guess I must say like Bay Area wise, right? Support the organizations that are helping the youth. I mean, donate to Youth Speaks, donate to Hip Hop for Change, donate to the Ella Baker Center. Like, there's so many organizations that are providing avenues for people, especially young people, to express themselves. And what do they say? It's like we don't we don't inherit the land from our ancestors, but we borrow it from our children. I feel like
Amen.
the same way that goes with hip hop. It's like it's our babies. It's the next generation, and what can we do to make it better for them? Otherwise, the songs of pain, the songs of suffering are still going to continue. The levels of exploitations are still going to continue. So to find way to think about hip hop is to also think about is to also think about it's to also think about liberation and freedom,
Hmm.
and to support organizations that are doing so.
If I just add one little thing is when you hear hip hop, if you're at a, flipping the radio stations and you hear it, listen, listen to the words. What is that artist trying to say and convey to the world about our current state or opportunities of hope? So hip hop may not be your type of music, but you know what? Listen. And then, because I think this discussion, what I loved about it is that um, it's about not only educating and getting people to fall in love, but to begin to say, how am I connected to that? How is hip hop speaking to me? And how is it challenging me to be a better human being? Because that's what we're all striving to. So, for those of you that are listening and watching, next time you hear some good hip hop, just what is it saying? Because the message is universal. Message of struggle, right? But also hope. Um, I just want to acknowledge Helen's comments about someone who she's been talking to on death row, Rome Alone. Check him out on YouTube. That's a good starting point. If you not used to hip hop, but that might be a good starting point to understand the message. Okay, there's a question. Can anyone suggest any hip hop tracks which are inspiring and educational by yourself or in a circle or your city?
I love that question. I think we should put together a Glide local hip hop playlist.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. um, yeah, shoot. Okay, off the top of my head, I know there are, speaking of playlists, my friend Coco Pela is doing a lot of rap stuff around protecting reproductive rights. And yeah, I'm glad y'all are down. Let's do it. So I can, so you can look into that. I can try to drop it in the chat, the Spotify link, but this is her name, Coco Pela. You can check her out. There's a lot of other folks on there. I think Aima the Dreamer would probably be one person on that playlist, along with Ryan Nicole. Um, yeah, I think it's a long list of folks, but I'm gonna go find that playlist. Yeah, and then we put together our own one. Yeah, you got anybody off the top of your head, Goulet?
I mean, just the almighty hieroglyphics crew, like from Oakland. Definitely, we lost a legend, Zumbi from Zion I. Anything from that group, their discography is so spiritual. I mean, there's a beautiful song about hip hop that they created called Bird's Eye View that I listen to, and it just puts me in such a ethereal state. And yeah, once again, rest in peace to Zumbi from Zion. Real influence in my upbringing, especially growing up in Vallejo and just listening to underground hip hop, over there, just made me want to go to Rasputin's in Berkeley and just get all the CDs and just going to Amoeba, just catching the BART rides, as a 15, 16-year-old. It's just an adventure coming all the way from Vallejo without a car. Just to just get the music. That's how much it influenced me and made me just travel just to grab it. So, I got major love for just Hieroglyphics crew, Zion who else? I mean, there's just a lot. I think Jada, let's work on that playlist together.
Well, yeah, I'd love to see that, and we'll share it on the website. I just before we end, I cannot thank you both enough. Not only for your artistry, but this idea of doing this hip hop series was actually Guled's idea. When Guled worked here in our department, he said, let's do something around hip hop, the anniversary. So Guled, I don't want to leave without thanking you for once again contributing so much to us at Glide that has impacted so many people. And Jada, I mean, you are leading our workshops on spoken word, Justice Spoken Word series. And for those of you that want to, we're going to have to do it again because now I hear that more people want to do it. So, we'll put that up on our website. But you both have contributed so much to tonight's discussion. Eric, I know you're going to come in with some closing remarks and announcements, but from my heart to yours, Jada and Guled, and to all of you who are listening and watching this, thank you so much. We hope you fall in love with hip hop. We hope you fall in love with Guled and Jada and follow them and their music and all the incredible stuff they're doing in the world to make it better. So thank you all. Mr. Eric Arguello.
Yes, thank you, Miguel. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
I just want to thank everyone for being here and joining us tonight for our Justice Virtual Series. I do want to give an opportunity for Guled and Jada to, let us know what's coming up for them next. Have at events or workshops, whatever you guys have coming is the opportunity. Jada, do you want to let us know what you're doing next?
Yeah, sure. So I have a special event with KQED on September 15th. I'm really excited. I'm gonna grab the link for y'all. But yeah, that's what the event I have coming up.
Great, thank you. And how about you, Guled?
Next Friday, y'all, at the Aggregate Space Gallery in West Oakland, I have a 2-month exhibit called Khamsa. Khamsa and Outer Big means 5, and it's a healing journey through music and visual arts through the 5 stages of grief. So I'm gonna put the event right over here. We have our opening reception next Friday. Please, everybody, come through. It's about to be amazing, and there's going to be more events happening from now till October 16th. But I'll love to see y'all there.
What time on Friday?
It is going to be, I believe, it's going to start around 6 o'clock.
Okay, cool. And Jada, where can we find your music?
Oh my God, congratulations, Guled. That's absolutely amazing. First off, what the heck? Oh, that's amazing. My music is on all streaming platforms. So if you like to listen on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, it's there. If you want to purchase the music, it's on Bandcamp, or just you can stream it there too. and I'll purchase it. I put my Bandcamp link there. If you want, like I release my music early, like music videos or unreleased stuff. It's all on my Patreon, which is a monthly subscription. That's the link as there as well. Oh, it didn't hyperlink. And then my newest thing is my newest release is a music video called Rosa Parks, and that is on YouTube. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Jada. It's been a rich conversation. I've learned so much. We want to invite you back in the future. I know you guys are going to do a playlist for Glide, so I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot from you guys. So again, thank you guys. I do want to just talk about our next monthly series. It's going to be Latinx Heritage Month, The Other Barrio, September 29th, Thursday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. We'll be having a riveting conversation about events that rock the Mission District and the gentrification and displacement of thousands of the Latinx community and how the community has shown its resilience. So please join us. We will have an Eventbrite out in a couple of weeks. And also, if you get a chance, we would love for you to become a justice warrior for Glide. You can go to glide.org under the Center for Social Justice. We can't do this alone. We only can do it together. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Much love.